Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to episode 160B of Tales with TR. I'm your host, Terry Ryan Jr., joined by Terry Ryan Sr. for part 2 of our 20 questions, 2-part series. Senior, let's get right into it. How about that?
You got it.
Okay. By the way, Senior, how is your summer going?
Well, the summer just started really a couple days ago. From my point of view,
I know, the nice weather.
It'll be like I enjoy walking. I enjoy being out. Like I enjoy getting a tan. I'm sure I'll have a good summer.
Simple pleasures. Senior walks a lot in
Simple
the summer.
pleasures.
You know what? I'm glad that you finally started walking these trails because I love them. I go out there.
But I've been walking them for a while.
But
I just didn't start.
You used to just remember 10 years ago. You used to go up to the top of Mount Pearl, walk around the track.
Yeah, I do. I still do that too.
Yeah, but at least you change it up. Don't you love this walk out here?
Yeah, it's very beautiful. Yeah, it's nice.
To me, it's so calming, and
it is.
I think moms should do it. But the other thing I was
it's like a nature walk, really.
Bike behind you, Senior. You know that's electric, right?
I know that.
I was going to get mom,
and we will, and she brought it up too, so we will be doing it.
I'll take you out. You can pick one, but I'd like her to. You can walk. I don't think she can walk.
Yeah,
that far.
I can walk for sure, but she wants me to ride with her, so
I'll have to get one for both of you guys.
Well, I thought Penny Lane had one or something.
She has a bike.
Okay.
The electric one, mom can go wherever she wants. She doesn't put effort in.
Shoot.
She's got a bad back. Okay, here we go. Who do you think is the best punk band ever?
Wow. I was going to start off because I love them with the Sex Pistols, but I think I don't know if they were rated punk. They came out of punk, but the Clash.
Hey, you know what's funny?
Were absolutely one of my greatest groups ever.
So one of the last episodes,
London Calling, man. What a song!
It's funny. Last week, I asked this because one of my listeners sent me a message and said, "Hey, you don't ever talk about punk," and I said, "Geez, I actually do have a lot of punk.
Yeah.
And I don't really, all these episodes go by and sometimes I talk about music and I hadn't talked about it much, but I said, my two favorite, definitely London Calling album.
Yes. That's
now the hits are that and Train in Vain, but the whole thing is great.
They didn't have a whole lot out, but the Sex Pistols they were so under people.
Never mind the Bullocks.
Pistols,
is that the big one?
They just think that, what is it? People just thrashing on guitars. These guys were good.
I like
these guys were good. Yeah. You listen to Steve Jones on lead guitar. Oh, everyone thinks that. What is it? Banging pots and pans? Because punk had that anti-music.
Because when you watch the fucking videos and people are throwing beer bottles at the stage.
Yeah.
And,
they were really, really.
They were
good.
just right. It was a lot of it was It's funny because I talked about it. Punk. It's such a it's not a dichotomy, but almost a contradiction, because if the whole thing is anti-establishment, and then all of a sudden, if it's successful, you make a lot of money.
Yeah,
but still,
but it's almost like anti-music too.
Yeah,
a lot of it was
turns people off.
A lot of punk rockers, it was just noise, but. And the ones you don't even hear about, and I went out of my way. Geez, these guys were good too. The Damned. Susie and the Banshees, they're all British.
Misfits?
No, I can't say I even know them.
Oh, yeah, they're not bad.
But
Black Flag?
Black Flag are a little bit too heavy for Henry Rollins.
Yeah,
they're a little bit too heavy.
But you know what? They're not. There are a couple. I know. We're starting to get on the outline lane where
the Clash started. They were punk, but at the end, I don't think I wouldn't grade the Clash as Should I Stay or Should I Go or London Calling as punk. But they came out of punk.
Would you consider Green Day punk? I would have thought rock, but they're on these punk lists, and I was like, geez, I
think just looking at...
I know they've derived from punk.
Yeah, and looking at the music itself, the way they started, I would say punk.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's funny because punk has a lot of roots in ska. And so this person that sent me, I can't remember the name, but I get these, and they said, No Doubt. I was like, No Doubt aren't. But then I'm like,
I never looked upon No Doubt.
No, I didn't. But he was explaining how punk came out of ska and how No Doubt, and I looked into it. So No Doubt we're big punk fans. So I think in the 90s, punk just kind of spread. Even grunge was anti-establishment.
Yes.
And I don't think Nirvana, I think they were very aware of all the punk. It's just a different sound. but punk went in a lot of different directions.
Yes.
So our Green Day
and
punk,
a lot of it
I don't
was,
know.
a lot of it was unadulterated bullshit.
Yeah,
A lot of it.
But the good stuff was
But
good.
the best came to the top, and they were
Well, all the bands that I like,
they took over the airwaves.
were inspired by something real. A lot of the other ones were copycats.
Yes.
Like Creed were copycats.
yes.
Nirvana that was organically real.
Yes.
You can say that about Grandmaster Flash.
Creed were phonies.
Yeah, same thing with rap. Didn't 50 Cent shoot himself or something, or one of those people to have a shit? But
I
like
know-
Grandmaster Flash went through it. Like
No,
he
the-
went through
well,
like
Grandmaster.
NWA. What you're hearing,
Yes.
they lived it.
Yeah, they
right? So
did.
it's
That
a
was
little
genuine.
different to me.
Yeah.
And so most of that genuine stuff,
Yes.
even though there's a lot of shit around it,
Yeah.
right, is very interesting. Best Stones album
The best Stones album.
in your mind? I like Beggar's Banquet.
No, to me, even though Exile on Main Street, because I can't handle that.
That's
at all.
rated their first, but I think it's more
that's
what
considered their masterpiece.
that's
and I don't
because
like
of
it at
how they
all.
recorded it, though,
You
in the
can't- yeah,
castle
you
and
can't even hear the vocals.
No.
My favorite would be "Let It Bleed."
Let It Bleed's great.
Yeah.
Because that's another reason. A lot of I talk about the Beatles a lot, but I really like the Stones.
No,
And someone
how could you-
someone said, "Why
How
do you
could
like the
not?
Stones?" I
Were
said,
they as great the Beatles? No, I don't. I think everyone would agree. But they had their own niche. They weren't like the Beatles.
Yeah, and the
They
early
were more rock and roll, and they still
Totally.
are. And hats off to them.
and they did spread their wings a bit. There's is the album "Miss You" or in the late '70s? If you hear it, it's almost reggae. It's almost like the Stones did go. I think they're
They could
rooted in
adapt to the
blues.
times.
Yeah, they're rooted in rhythm and blues. That's the way I
But
see
that
it.
was
Again, I'm
more
not a musician.
disco.
It was
Start
yeah.
me up. No, because disco for about 10 years took over.
Yeah.
They sat down and said, what are we going to do? Well, and they did it quite well.
They did. It's funny how on all the lists, Exile is number one, and I'm just like, it's okay,
Oh, I
but
can't
it's more
handle
about how they recorded it.
it. It is. I know what you're talking about when
Did
they're
you
in
read
France.
Keith Richards' book? He's down doing heroin notes. He's like, I
Yes.
don't remember.
But
How is
I
he
can't
alive?
hear the vocals. I'm
Yeah.
saying, come on. And you're right. It's more about the way what they went through. He was a
Yeah.
junkie. And anyway, no, I wouldn't even play that.
Will humans live to be 150?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think
Probably more. It's evolution. I've said it before. All this stuff we see on Star Trek, zip, it'll all happen. It might take 2,000 years.
What I love
definitely
about Star
going to
Trek,
happen.
What I love about Star Trek, it's based on real science. Most of it.
Yeah, well, it's definitely
Even
it's
now,
evolution.
you take for granted when they flip open their thing. It's a cell phone.
Of course,
Right? They all got cell phones.
it's
in
going to
it.
take years and years, but we're going to go. Obviously, we're going to go to different planets. We got to because the Earth is not sustainable. You're going to have 50 billion on the Earth. No, you can't. We're going to have to go.
Yeah, I agree.
That's not even a question.
Most deplorable thing about yourself.
Whoa. Wow. That's a heavy duty question because it is. I got
to do some introspective.
I got a bad temper at times. I don't like it like that. I got a bad temper at times.
That's a pretty good answer. Now, I've asked you this the last 4 years, and I think I was ahead of the game on this one because I've said that he's going to do it for the last 4 years. Alex Ovechkin has 822 goals. Gretzky has 894. Your answer has always been he's going to tail off. He had 46 last year again.
I said now he's within reach. He'll keep playing, and Washington will want him to play until he breaks it now, even if.
But he only needs 72 goals.
He does.
Of course, he's going to keep playing. He just had 46 goals. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can see if you were like Patrick Marleau, well, he's just going to play until he breaks the record.
I thought that was going to be.
But Ovechkin is still good.
The point total is unassailable, and no one will break his assists. But I think everyone would said that's never going to be broken, and I think it will be now.
Now he's got 72. I mean, like I said, he had 46. He hasn't tailed off yet.
He
has to, but he hasn't yet.
Well, the only thing that could prevent it is if he gets a bad injury.
Yeah,
like blows a knee out or something,
and he will have done it. He will have done it in way more games, but still.
Yeah, no question.
But still,
but
still, different eras, different. Yeah. Are you intrigued by Lionel Messi playing in Miami? Will you watch, for
not
example?
really.
Will you tune in?
I think it
I
says,
don't ever watch MLS unless I'm in Toronto. I like going to TFC,
I
but like
think,
when I'm there, I got to do my homework because I don't know who's who.
yeah. But
Will you
I
watch?
think it says a lot about Messi, and I always like Messi over Ronaldo, a total phony. Took the money and went to play soccer, like all the journalists say. Took $1 billion, went to play soccer in a beer league, but
and he
he's
seems to
very
be,
envious of Messi. He wouldn't he wouldn't go somewhere unless he had more
seems
than
to have a
Messi.
bit of an attitude too.
He
Like the
did.
last three teams, I didn't see that for the first 15 years of his career,
because he
but the
concealed
last
it.
few years,
Well,
yeah.
the World Cup and the last one, and he wouldn't go in Portugal. And the guy said, "Well, he's not the same Ronaldo," and he wouldn't start him. And he turned on the coach and said, "I
Yeah.
love Portugal." It was all absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
He was for Ronaldo.
Well, I think if there was an argument, again, I'm really on the outside looking in, but I
I
really
lost all
I
respect.
pay
for
attention
that
to those
guy.
guys. But
More
I mean,
beautiful to watch than Messi. Absolutely, he's like a ballet artist.
yeah.
But Messi was a
But
bulldog.
Messi just won the World Cup and
He
was the
did.
MVP. Isn't that something?
Well,
Like to me, if there was an argument,
Ronaldo has never done it.
No.
That's it.
and
That's it.
Messi had never done it.
No.
But now he
Put-
did do it,
No,
and he
but it-
scored 2, and they won 2-0,
Yeah, but
and he was the player of the match.
that's why I put him over Ronaldo.
I think it had to, right?
It definitely did.
Like I heard this argument a year
it
ago,
definitely did.
and then in December, one of them won a World Cup and was the MVP.
Absolutely.
What the fuck would you think?
No.
Right? And he had 2.
Yes.
He did it.
Yes, he did.
Like since Maradona, really, that all this expectation and you're supposed to be the best. And I know Zidane and these guys came through, but really, I don't remember a hype like. And Maradona did it. Here, I'm supposed to be the best. Here, I'm the best. Right? They won one, right? Argentina,
Yes.
Maradona.
Yes.
And that was the year that it was the hand of God, wasn't
The
it?
hand of God.
But he did go end to end. It's the nicest
Oh, he
goal
did,
I've ever
and
seen.
and he was great. There's no question about it.
Total head case. Remember
Yeah,
he scored
total
that.
loon. Absolutely.
Came back. Remember he went over and like mimics
Absolutely.
snorting the line.
Yeah, the line is 300 feet. 300 feet of whatever gypsum or whatever. So he gets on his hands and good role model for the kids.
It's unbelievable. If you really think about it, he did all that while on
did.
coke
And not only
like
that, he was just the worst liver.
ever.
So it says
But he did it.
Yeah, he was so talented.
Imagine being able to, and like as he got older, he put on like,
Yeah.
And I've seen documentaries. People are like, well, he never really like. It's not like he was a madman in the gym, or he was just so natural, and he'd
It
go
was.
out till
He was
3 in
that
the
good.
morning.
Well, the only one I can compare him to, and
Imagine
there
if he
be an
actually-
argument, was
Pele.
no
Okay.
Georgie Best, in
Yeah.
England, who burnt himself out, who won everything
I thought you meant
and the goals, and they said, Georgie, you keep drinking, you're going to kill yourself. Okay, fine, give me another round, will you?
yeah.
And it killed him. But he was supremely talented.
Yeah. Okay, you got to pick one of these guys. Who do you think's the funniest? Job, Will Arnett from Arrested Development. Kramer, Michael Richards, and Seinfeld.
Oh, never really found him funny.
I think you know what. So me and Penny Lane are looking at all of them now.
He's funny, but
she
not,
hadn't seen them.
Okay.
But you know what?
I
At the
never
time, I
found-
didn't. So she hadn't seen. We're almost done the Seinfeld series. She
Yeah.
loves it.
Okay.
But his physical timing.
Yeah, no question. I'm not saying anything.
And
And I'm not saying I hate him, but I find Job way funny.
Yeah, okay. But his physical timing, and if you look,
Yeah.
it's wild. Like the actions
is.
and
No, it's yeah.
so I saw a thing on him, and you know where he got that? And I never would have thought about it.
Marx Brothers.
A show I don't even watch that much. It's a classic, Three's Company, but John Ritter played Jack Tripper.
Wow.
But he used to do
I
that,
never-
his
I
physical
never-
humor.
I never found that one. Bit
No,
funny.
but if I just didn't think, if you look at the two characters,
Yeah,
John Ritter's falling
he
over the
did
couch,
a lot of falling
There's a
down.
lot of
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
physical stuff.
Yeah.
And I just didn't realize. Okay, so Job Kramer, Michael Scott from The Office,
He's funny.
Larry David from Curb,
I like him, but he's not funny like Michael Scott or Job.
and Ricky from Trailer Park Boys. So between you, it's Michael Scott, Job, or Ricky.
Yeah, Ricky would be third.
Okay.
Wow.
I mean, the whole
Almost-
Office is based around Michael Scott.
It is. Michael Scott and Job. I can't pick one.
Yeah, I can't
I'm
either.
going to say Co.
Okay, good. Best baseball team ever, in your opinion?
Well, if you go back through history, it's the 27 Yankees with Gehrig and Ruth and Lazeri and
Is that
uh,
what most people would say? The
27
27
Yankees. Yeah, 27 Yankees.
Really?
I'm pretty sure they won 5 in a row. But in my mind, if they had stayed together, except for Charlie Finley, it was the Oakland Athletics when they won 3 in a row.
In the 80s?
And then he starts selling pieces off. The first was Catfish Hunter, Jackson. People forget.
70s, sorry.
They
70s,
still won 2 more divisional titles after that when they were all unloaded. And I think if you hear Jackson or Joe Rudy or Bando, they think they had it to win another couple. They could have won 5 in a row. That's how good they were.
Am I wrong, or did the A's win it again in the late 80s with Canseco and McGuire? I'm not saying
they did.
But like twice in a row,
They
right?
won it twice.
2, and then they were in the final. The
Juiced
others,
up.
they were good. But,
Yeah, that's
juiced
when
up.
juice.
But they had
but everyone was juiced up.
Eckersley. Who else? They had good pitching, though.
Well,
Dennis Eckersley.
They had Stewart. Dave Stewart.
That's the guy I'm thinking of.
He
Ended
was
up in Toronto.
He was their ace.
Ended up in
and
Toronto
he was
after
legit
that.
too.
Yeah.
He was legit. They had a bunch of guys coming at the bullpen. They were always good. They had Stewart's one that jumps out at me. I think by the blue.
Well, they had
long
Ricky
gone by
Henderson
then.
stealing bases like that. It's crazy. Like you look at the bases he stole. By the way, how about this year stealing bases? But it's like fucking
back.
4
It's
inches.
good. Yeah.
4 inches added to the base.
It is.
Now there's more. It's crazy.
But
The
It's
timing
helped the game so much, though.
helped it so much.
Yeah.
You know what I do
And
love
the big
about
rule,
baseball?
that 22nd rule pitching, it's absolutely fabulous.
Yeah.
And they all know it now. They
Yeah.
complain, but they all know it, and
I
they're saying
know.
it's great for the game.
It really is, man. It really is. And you know what I love about baseball? I think it's you never like to compare it. It's hard to compare fucking Babe Ruth to Aaron Judge. It just is in so many levels. But baseball, you can kind of do it. And like when you said the 27 Yankees, yeah, they had a great team, and it's more similar than hockey for sure. Hockey, you're still passing it backwards. Football wasn't really on the go like that. NBA, was it? I don't think so. So baseball has basically had the same dimensions. There's differences, yes, but it's stayed very much the same since 1920. Like when the Black Sox in 1919 wasn't much different rules than now. But there are, and so that rule, that base rule, and I was wondering because it was starting to get to the point that a lot of bases stolen was like 13. It was like
20.
right? It was bad.
And they were losing. Now it's action. Now it's all action.
Action, and there's way more. And you can't.
You gotta have.
You know what I also love? No more shift. You see now because the shift was it's so boring.
No question.
Everybody on one side of the
and
field.
it doesn't really take away because years and years ago they never
They
really
did it anyway.
They used to do it against Ted Williams because he was dead pull. And even though he knew the greatest hitter ever, he said, I'm not changing my swing. He kept dead pull. If they get it, they do. But I'm dead pull. He's still, last hitter, 406. What's that now? 70 years ago? 1941.
The last hitter.
1941, 80 years ago.
The last hitter.
406.
To hit 400 was 80 fucking years ago.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about Ted Williams, a lot of people don't realize, where's this going to go? The only two people I know cryogenically frozen are him and Walt Disney. And if
I
we
didn't
come
know
up,
Disney was. I knew Ted Williams was.
Yeah, Walt Disney. So technically what they're hoping, again, folks,
Of course,
he's frozen.
Evolution.
Is that we're going to come up with, but the technology is possible, right? It is possible that we're going to figure out how to revive some. Now, the only thing is Ted Williams was like 70 when he died, so you're still a 70-year-old. But can you imagine if you can bring him back?
He was probably 80, but
80.
anyway, yeah.
Can you imagine?
Well, I've no doubt that they can. They will.
Well, I think they're going to be able to.
They
like the
will.
whole,
It's-
and if that's now,
It's evolution, man.
think about it, senior. Your great grandfather,
It
my
wasn't any more like way out there than to tell someone 100 years ago, my grandmother, that someone's going to walk on the moon in 70 years.
Listen, that's what I'm saying.
Come on.
Incredible.
It's going to happen.
People taking a horse to the store.
Someone's going soon walk on Mars.
Yeah.
They're going to build just like what you're watching on. It's all going to happen.
Yeah, we have that what is it?
The average lifespan 30, 40 years ago, if you were 65, that was old. That's why it was called an old age pension. 65 now is 50.
I know, it's crazy.
Dan is 50 now, and the average age all of a sudden goes to about 80. In 30, 40 years, it'll be 80. It's just going to incrementally
Brad
increase.
Pitt's 60.
Yeah.
And he's in just
Looks 25.
like I don't know why that popped into my mind, but it was just because I was watching the other day, not that old, maybe 4 years. You know, what's that movie? The last Tarantino one with him and DiCaprio.
Hollywood.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Once Upon a Time
And he's
Hollywood.
playing this stunt guy. I mean, he's 55 there.
I know.
Right? But he looks
body
great.
of a 30-year-old. No.
But name me someone 55, 30 years ago that didn't look 80.
But don't tell me if you looked at his regimen and knowing how hard it must be for him to maintain. Oh my God.
Yeah.
To me, it wouldn't be worth it. I mean, giving up my life to go in.
I don't know, though. It might be worth it.
But it's got to be discipline, and that's how much he wants it.
It might be worth it.
That's admirable.
You know, he lives a pretty good life. But who knows? I guess worth it. What's worth it? I mean, he had that. He had more money than he knew what to do with 20 years ago.
But he loves acting, just like So my hat's off to him. But I could never do it. I wouldn't want to do it because I want to go out in my life and do something else. But you can act till you're 200.
Jarrett said he came to their show, the Letterkenny Live, and made a point to go over and tell him how much it meant. He said, I went through, a hard time, and Letterkenny got me through, man. And yeah.
Brad Pitt actually said that. Yeah. I knew it was his favorite.
I didn't know. I didn't ask Jarrett until this year.
Yeah.
And I didn't get deep into it. I'm not going to say everything that he said.
No,
Jarrett's a very private
But the fact
person, but I think that's pretty out there.
That he'd take time out and go and say, I got to tell this guy personally.
Yeah.
It says a lot about him.
It really does.
New customers, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use promo code THPN. Bet just $5 to score $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code THPN, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelplinema.org. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Kansas, call 1-800-522-4700 on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. In West Virginia, gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. All games regulated by the West Virginia Lottery. Please play responsibly in partnership with Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 21 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. 1 boost per eligible game. Opt-in required. Max bet $50. 10 plus leg required for 100% boost. Eligibility, wagering, and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/baseball terms.
I'm going to give you some bands. You tell me.
Beatles.
Put them in order.
Okay.
Kansas.
I've reassessed. I always had Beatles, Eagles, Steely Dan. Now it's Steely Dan. Eagles have gone to 3. Steely Dan are my second best. I've been listening a lot lately and whatever, and I just find the Steely Dan, they've approached the Beatles. They're not so much their last 2 or 3 albums. Everything Must Go, Two Against Nature, okay. But their first 5, Steely Dan, Can't Buy a Thrill, Pretzel Logic, Countdown to Ecstasy, Gaucho, and I forget the other one off the top of my head. I never tire of hearing them.
Asia.
That's it. Probably the greatest ever. Not my greatest ever, but it's considered their masterpiece.
And what's the one with Cousin Dupuis on it?
Cousin Dupree is, I got to think.
It's late. They got album of the year.
Yeah, I think Cousin Dupree, isn't that Two Against Nature?
Two Against Nature.
Yeah.
Sorry, it is.
My favorite is probably Pretzel Logic.
Yeah, I like Asia. So I'm going to give you 5 bands and you put them in order.
Okay.
Kansas.
Yeah.
Toto. Oh, funny. I wasn't thinking Toto goes to Kansas.
Yeah.
I was just honestly thinking
There
two.
you go.
Funny that I two of those in a row.
There you go.
Kansas, Toto, America,
Yeah.
Dire Straits,
Ooh.
Aerosmith.
Oh, Aerosmith are definitely last.
Do you like anything by Aerosmith?
Yeah, I do.
I mean, those are 5 pretty good bands.
But it got, and they do have good stuff.
Sweet Emotion.
It's just that I'm not a big Steven Tyler fan, and I do like now. If you were to give me their greatest hits, I probably like every song, but I wouldn't rush out and buy an album. I would have to
Those
say,
are also 5, like
I would have
the
to
4 bands that
say,
I mentioned.
Uh,
Kansas, Toto, America, Dire Straits
okay,
left.
Kansas would be third.
Yeah.
I would, Dire Straits never put out that much. I love melodies, and I'm going to go with America, Dire Straits, Kansas. Dire Straits, man, only put out 3 or 4. He
What about
walked away.
Toto?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I really like Toto. I like no. Okay, I'm going to go America, Toto, Dire Straits.
America, Toto, Dire
Yeah,
Straits.
because I love
Kansas, Aerosmith.
America. I love they put out oodles of albums, and everything they put out I like. Now,
Brothers in Arms, Dire Straits, though. It's a great.
I'm not a big lover of Brothers in Arms.
You like the Sultans of Swing album? What's
yes,
the name of that
that's
one
my
again?
very favorite.
Okay,
That's
so
my
that's
Knock
2
'em
big
Dead
albums,
album.
though.
That was the
Right.
one that broke them.
Those are 2 greats, though.
They are. But America had put out 10 albums that I can listen to and love.
Okay.
Not one song is the equivalent of Sultans of Swing. But I mean, Sister Golden Hair, they've got, it's called a cheap pleasure. It's a cheap pleasure. What you hear is what you get. It's not deep. It's not like look into it. So, Horse with No Name, Don't Cross the River, Sandman, Sister Golden Hair, Right Before My Eyes. I love them, and they're all cheap pleasures. But there's great harmonies and great melodies and great voices.
Yeah, I've often said
Toto, of
if
course.
there was someone
Africa is one of my all-time favorite songs.
If there was, yeah, it's great. If there was one, if someone hadn't heard like
Toto 4 is a great album.
If someone hadn't heard rock and roll music, or music in general, pop music and popular music, and they wanted to hear one song, I've often said, I don't know how someone can hear Sister Golden Hair and not like it.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
I know.
Just beautiful. But they get a few songs like that.
It's a cheap pleasure.
Yeah. What did you think, by the way, side note, of Pete Drozha's new stuff?
Loved it.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
Loved it.
So that album, that was
absolutely loved it.
Yeah, he's got a knack for writing good songs.
Well, all I know is that holds up today.
Yeah, so those that don't know, I loved my favorite song in the 90s by him was If You Don't Love Me, I'll Kill Myself. That sounds really almost suicidal. It's just a poppy song. It's a weird title, but the album's great. It's called Necktie Second. It's a great album. Pretty underrated, but the song ended up being in Dumb and Dumber, so he did do all right. I saw him in Little Bar in Seattle before that, right?
Told me.
And it came in. I just heard that song, and by no fluke, it ended up being popular. But anyway, he stayed on the go, and he's got a great new album out, man. It just came out. Only Have Eyes is the hit, but it just got released in its entirety, Senior, and
That's
you're going to like it.
That's a really nice song, too.
Who would have been? Yeah, it's beautiful. Who would have been your favorite 90s band?
90s?
We often
80s,
forget.
80s is like the period where all music went into an abyss to me. Big hair period. Now, there'll always be someone to come out of the worst period. So there were.
I think now is worse than the 80s.
It's pretty bad.
But Senior, the 80s, you had Bob Seger, Bruce Springsteen,
No
Dire
question.
Straits were there.
Someone to come out.
Toto.
There's always someone to come out.
Yeah, I think you're thinking the cheesy 80s, but the 80s had a lot of good, if you think about it.
They also had a lot of hair bands like
They did.
Dr.
A lot of shit.
What's the real ones? That Motley Crue. Oh, jeez.
I saw them last summer.
Motley Crue.
But it's a show more than anything.
Yeah, I could never handle them. But there was 100 around like them because they were successful.
Yeah.
Poison. And
they were there the same concert. And Def Leppard. But Def Leppard are better than those two, I think.
I never liked Def Leppard.
No, but they're
I
definitely
don't like
more.
that kind of. It's a genre. I don't like that genre.
Yeah. I would still put Def Leppard far ahead of those two.
I would too.
But yeah, I understand what you mean. But think Bob Seger. Most of his stuff came out in the 80s.
Bob Seger, I love.
Think of Springsteen stuff
Yeah.
in the 80s.
But notice always, but I'm saying in general, if there was 300 groups, you're going to get 10 or 20 that are going to go on to Hall
Yeah.
of Fame. And
But I don't know if you are now. Like now, I can't name any of that.
no, well,
That's what I'm saying.
it's all the same.
If I say 2010s, well, there's
I
some
find
good.
it's all the same. I find this. I'm not
I
a
know.
hip hop fan,
Yeah.
but I find boom, boom. Yeah, it just.
But even
gets
hip hop in the
so-
90s, like
it
I
gets
said,
so
NWA came organically out of something. Like, you know, and you get even when
Yes.
Snoop
Oh, no,
started and Dr. Dre, Jay-Z,
I-
99 Problems, what a
find
wicked
that,
tune.
That's not
But-
close to what's
No,
coming out
it's
now.
not. No.
It's not.
But neither is rock,
close.
neither is it. So anything coming out now, I don't know if it sounds derivative.
There's
Even
no one-
country
no
music
one
now.
Country music has this, and I like country music,
Yeah.
but it's all the same.
Derivative, yeah, it is. But now that being said, there are a few.
Yeah, there always will be a few.
But I think there was more in the 80s than there are now. I don't know any like Bob Seger now. None. I don't know anybody with. I mean, do you want to say Greta Van Fleet? Maybe, but they're not going to be Bob Seger. Yeah, they're all right.
They're derivative of Led Zeppelin. They make no bones about it, and God love them
I know.
for it.
Even there, they're still not close to Springsteen or Seger.
No.
But I don't know anybody like that now.
No.
Who? Like fucking
No.
Sean Mullins? Like who are you going to pick?
They're probably out there. They haven't been discovered.
I guess some people would say Kendrick Lamar or something, but I don't know.
No, I'm not into that at all.
I'm not really into it, and it's all right. I can appreciate the odd album. I like Eminem, man. He's still putting out
No
some
question.
decent stuff when it comes to. But
Eminem,
even he kind of
but
went that way.
even back when you were coming through, where a lot of it was happening out in Seattle and Washington State, Coolio, who was the guy who sang "Gangsta's Paradise"?
But yeah, he.
I
came,
love that.
He
You
came.
know,
to
and Sir Mix-a-Lot.
yeah,
Baby's Got Back.
it was catchy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that but you transpose that now to
Or
what's going on now.
Naughty by Nature, Hip Hop Hooray, OPP.
OPP.
Right? There was
Now,
all
Big Love Rob.
they were
but
catchy.
I love now one that's fairly Macklemore and Lewis. I love.
Yeah, they're good.
I love.
I don't even mind a little bit because they're poking. There's a touch of satire in what they're doing, and they're in on the joke, and I like and it's catchy, and they can laugh.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
But it's also got a melody,
Yeah.
a nice melody. You know. So no, this is a lost.
where would you put the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds?
Yeah, well, I think it's rated too high. It's a great album. It's a great album.
Did you see Did you see the John Cusack movie?
Yeah.
About or you did when he plays Brian Wilson
Yeah.
just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I forget the name of it.
But what I'm
movie.
saying is, to me, I'm a Beatle fan, so I will always say Sgt. Pepper. Now, well, number one. What I'm saying is George Martin, who produced all the Beatle records, take Sgt. Pepper.
Mhm.
The one mistake he regretted to his dying
Not
day.
putting Penny Lane on it. Fucking Strawberry Fields.
EMI were coming to him. They were doing
Jesus.
Sgt. Pepper. And they said, we got to have a single because Christmas is coming up. He said, well, we don't really have one right now. 2 songs they had done that were going on Sgt. Pepper were
Strawberry Fields. and
Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields.
and they both
Forever.
would have fit.
Absolutely.
right?
You take
Like-
out
I know.
Within You and Without You
Yeah.
and take out When I'm 64. And
Or
plug
even leave
those-
them in.
And plug those 2 in.
Yeah, I know.
And all of us, holy Jesus!
You know,
now what an
but they
album!
fit. If I was to hear
And he
those
put
two,
out, it was a double-barreled hit, 2
Yeah.
A-sides. But he said, I regret it. I didn't want to do it, but the pressure was, we got to get it out for Christmas.
you know what's fantastic though? It just became a story, and everybody
money
it became a better story.
over the art.
Yeah, which kind of
Now, having
wasn't
said
where they
that,
wanted
Pet
to go with
Sounds
that.
is a great album. Sloop John B. God Only Knows.
I find it
It's a great
greater
album.
after you really understand what Brian Wilson, his contribution to that,
Well,
and the way it all went
he was
down.
doing it all too. So you have to say
Now,
the genius that he was.
When you hear it,
Now,
and then
Bert
you hear it
Device,
all coming from
know.
somebody's brain,
Yeah.
not a bunch. That's what I find. Like with the Beatles, it's like, oh man, they're collaborative. Even like yesterday, it's not
Yeah.
really collaborative,
No.
but they all took. There was a level of sharing
Yeah.
to all of it.
Yeah.
And this is the Beatles.
Yes.
No one ever, as much as they were at throats, you didn't hear, well, this is Paul's song. Like John joked about it when he went on. Okay, Paul, we'll all be ready for this one. But it was
They
still
all
a collaborative,
though. But
right?
Brian Wilson,
Yeah, but
they'd
he was.
come and say, Brian, have you got anything?
Please give me
Okay,
something
Mike,
else.
Sing this.
Yeah.
Here's what I got.
Sing this, and he was. All those sounds were in his head.
Heroes and
When-
villains. People
Yeah,
vilified him.
Oh,
They vilified him. The beat Mike Love said, I'm not singing it. We're not. It only went to number 1. Okay.
yeah.
So how good was he?
I know.
How good? Now that you tell me that's not different when people heard that, but it took a while. After the more you hear it, the better it becomes.
I've got to look because people are going to want to know. And you can get I wouldn't have thought it, but there was a John Cusack movie a couple of years ago.
High Fidelity.
No. John Cusack, Beach Boys.
Whom I like.
Beach Boys. Hold on, no one sec. Yeah. Love and Mercy.
Yeah, I did.
You saw it?
Yes, I did.
Oh man. Anyway, for those out there that are even slightly curious,
He was pretty fucked up, though. Wilson was pretty
he was,
fucked
but
up.
they go right into the actual studio there.
Yeah.
You're looking at the studio.
Yeah, you're right.
Like the video comes on for it,
No
and I'm looking
question.
at that studio.
Yeah.
They got it, and they got Brian Wilson to
He went
contribute
too
most
heavy
of it,
into the LSD and
Well,
the
he went
acid.
crazy, but
blew his mind. But
basically. But when you actually see even that, you're looking at a guy whose mind is blown.
anyway.
But still,
Still
when he sits,
capable. Yeah.
he's in there going, he's in
Still
there
holding it on
like
the
this
rails.
at 3 in the morning and
I
going,
know.
why do I? And then and then
There you go.
a guy will show up with like one little flute, and he's like,
Yes.
got it.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my god, this guy
They
was
had-
driving himself
Yeah,
crazy.
The best one is they were interviewing on YouTube. There was a group that played on them all, studio musicians called the Wrecking Crew in
I know what
LA.
you mean, yeah.
Hal Blaine. They go around. They were the best in the business. Well, Mamas and the Papas, anyone like that, it's all Hal Blaine. So he said, Brian wants me. He's got the Wrecking Crew. The bassist part is being played by a girl. What's her name? Anyway, and he said, we're being paid our money, it's a studio time. So we're waiting around. Brian, he said 3 hours late, okay, we don't care. We're getting paid. All of a sudden, Brian shows up and he sits down and he plays it. And I play my little part on the drums, the drummer, Hal Blaine. He looks at me and he says, play it one more time. He said it wasn't more than 10 seconds.
Oh, really?
So he said, I played again. That's it. And he said, we were waiting 3 hours. And he walks out. That's it. That was the session. 10 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah. But he said the thing about that Pet Sounds album, he said, we didn't know how great it was going to be because we only heard the parts we had. Meanwhile, he was going to add strings and all this. We didn't hear any of that. So we play our part. But when it was all finished, and we'd always be saying, geez, why would we got to play this? This doesn't go with that music. Then he said, when we heard it, and Brian had gone in and added this mellotron and added this, all of a sudden, it, like a pieces of a puzzle, it all came together, and we said, wow.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, he's a genius, no question. There's no getting around the genius of Brian Wilson.
Senior, that was, no, I agree with you.
You know
Now
what
that-
McCartney's favorite song is? He
Good
said,
Vibrations? I don't know.
no, he said, I heard that and I went in and wrote For No One.
Yeah, but I can't
God
remember
only
this.
knows.
God only knows. Yeah, well,
She said that says it
tough to
all.
argue with that.
Well, Carl sang it, right? But God only knows.
God only
He
knows is
considers
one
it
of the
their greatest
best.
song.
Yeah, I put that right up there with Something.
Yeah, God only knows. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And you can see For No One where it comes from. The
Mm,
day breaks. That sort of
definitely. It's
that
along those
melancholic,
lines.
that melancholic sort of soft sound.
Senior, that is the end of 20 questions. Pretty
And
good.
in the end,
Speaking of the
the
Beatles,
love you make is equal to the love you take. What a great song.
the end of Abbey Road. Speaking of the
And,
Beatles,
and that their last song, how apropos is that?
the end.
The end.
Yeah. I don't, and they didn't realize, right, because it was out of order. I don't think they realized that was the last song.
This is the end, my friend, my only friend,
The
the
Doors.
end. Yeah, that's a good song too.
The Doors.
Yeah.
Where do you put them?
Well, I'm telling you, I've been listening to a lot of the
Me
Doors
too.
and watching videos, and I underestimated them too.
They're just
They were great. The greatest Doors song to me. I'm reading a book by Robbie Krieger right now. It just came out, and I'd read John Densmore's book. But the last song of the Doors, and he said, when you think of it, Riders on the Storm.
Oh, wow.
The last time he was in the studio, he finished off Riders of the Storm and said, boys, I'm going over to Paris. He said he was going to come back and record, but I'm taking a break. We all agreed. He said we could put out some solo stuff. And he said, next phone call we got is Jim is dead.
Wow, that's a great song. There's so much going on in it.
Riders, the way it starts with the background thunder and the keyboards.
See, here's the
fabulous.
It goes on. So a lot of them weren't like Light My Fire is like 10 minutes long.
Yes,
right?
they edited
so a lot of
that.
them are yeah, they edited it, but the real and so a lot like
I
Riders
just
on the
watched
Storm,
it last night, a
you don't listen to
DVD.
it a lot because
Doors
it's so
at
much
the
music.
Isle of Wight. I just listened to it last night.
You know, like they can get like Grateful Dead, like songs can go on for 15
No, I
minutes.
can't handle
but
them
they're
at
still
all. but
good. No, I
anyway.
don't like Grateful. Well,
Touch of Grey is the only Grateful Dead song I like. And
Truckin'.
Dump Band,
Truckin'.
Uncle John's band I like too.
Truckin'.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. But I mean, again,
Touch of Grey is I
because
love.
they're regular songs that are cut under 5 minutes.
I just don't
You
like.
just can't get in.
I don't like the only song that went on and on and on like that I loved. It was the first platinum song in history in Agata Vita by Iron Butterfly, the whole side. And that brought in that hippie.
Well,
that's when
Hey
all
Jude
of a
broke
sudden,
it down, though. Hey Jude broke down there was no song ever on the top 40 over 3.5 minutes, and that was 7 minutes and something. That's what was the Hey Jude was definitely the first. Because remember, they weren't going to.
Inagata Vita went on for 20 minutes.
Oh, totally. I'm not saying Inagata Vita might have been a year or two later.
Okay. Yeah, the
So,
Beatles would have been done in 70s.
Saying there was the first hit.
No. Iron Butterfly were in 60s. Iron Butterflies, definitely.
Are you? I don't know.
Absolutely. No.
Hit?
Inagata Vita, I don't think it was a top 40 hit.
Yeah. Okay,
it was just.
But I
just
know
the
the
album
songs. It
and
comes
the
on
side.
classic rock. Yeah. It's like
Vita.
But and I guess for those, we'll come first circle and then we'll go. So if you want one of those tunes, a recent version, I guess it's 2000s now. Jesus of Suburbia by it's on American Idiot by Green Day, and that goes on for like 12 minutes. It's a rare one that I like that goes on that long. But even that's like 4 songs in one. So
yeah.
You know, like Band on the Run kind of thing.
Yes.
It's long, but when it actually kicks in, it's 3 minutes. But it's 3 kind of songs in one. Anyway, Senior, I'm going to wrap it up there. You good?
But having said that, the first big hit that broke the 6-minute barrier was Like a Rolling Stone, Bob Dylan. Yeah, he was the first one.
Okay, well, Hey Jude might have been the longest to that point. Maybe. But yeah, Like a Rolling Stone is definitely long, I know.
And it came before Hey Jude. Hey Jude's around what, 69, 68?
68, I believe.
Like Rolling Stone, I'd say is 66, maybe 65.
Yeah. And
it broke, I know for a fact.
And on the same album, isn't Positively 4th
Street, yeah.
And that's along the same lines.
That's great. That's when Dylan was Dylan to me.
I think it's when he plugged in after Newport, isn't it?
Yes, it would have
right
been
after it.
It's my favorite Dylan album ever, Highway 61 Revisited.
Yeah, it's a great album. There you go.
Fabulous.
For those music fans, there you can fill your boots with that information. That's about 7 recommendations. Senior, we're going to take off. You good?
That's it. I'm going for my walk now.
Okay, we'll see you again at the end of the summer. I'm sure you'll be back, folks. Thanks for tuning in to Tales with TR. If you're downtown St. John's, go for a beer. If you're going to go for a beer, or a drink. You don't have to have a beer. Why not have a coffee? Anywhere you want. You don't have to get buzzed, but what I do know is that you'll love the Bull and Barrel. I know you'll love Trinity Pub, TJ's, Greensleeves Pub, Rob Roy Confusion, and, of course, the Martini Bar. And if you're down, you want to get a bite to eat, you get a little hunger on, stop in. The Merchant Tavern, Blue on Water, or, of course, Wedgwood Cafe. Power conditioning on Rope Walk Lane. Strength and balance for the body and mind. If you want to go to Mr. Lube, there's 2 locations. One is on Torbay Road, one's on Kenmount Road. Live, laugh, lube. Pitbull Pain Relief. The pain sticks that just won't quit. PitbullPainRelief.com. True hockey, folks. Take What's yours? I'll be back in just a few days with more Tales with TR. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you guys on the rebound.